So today we're going to be discussing our new patch forms, similar version to the Citigrow, but rebuilt in the new portal and some new features that we've added along the way. And our forms are essentially our new way to get data collection for various reasons. So I just want to thank you guys for joining us today. We're going to dive into the various steps of creating forms, building your forms, designing them, and then we will also look at the different installation and then go over some upcoming features that we have planned in the relatively near future. So we're going to go ahead and show you how to access forms in the patch portal. We're going to go through step-by-step guide in creating just a basic form for today, some customization options, advanced features, and then different methods of installing within various websites. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the portal. Perfect. So once you log into the patch portal, you will land on your home page, and then you will scroll down to the left side and locate the forms module. Once you open the forms module, if you have existing previous forms that were built in Citigrow, they will show in the forms main view here. Any existing forms that were built previously, you will want to contact Success at Patch Retention, and we will walk through configuring those to work on the new version via our new pixel. There's a couple settings and some details that we need to make sure that transfer over properly, and we can get those up and running for everybody. And then to go ahead and create a new form, you're going to click the purple plus button in the bottom right-hand corner. You're going to go ahead and give your form a name. So this is going to be our webinar form. Perfect. And then once the form builder opens, it's going to be similar to some of our other tools within the platform. By default, it's going to have a logo, or it will automatically show the logo that you have on your account. We do have a new feature in the patch portal where you can upload your brand settings, and that includes your logo, your fonts, your brand colors. So if those settings are populated, then this will automatically show your logo versus the default one. By default, we also include the most common fields to get you started. So first name, phone number, and your SMS opt-in. If you want to go ahead and add additional details to your form below your logo, but above your fields, you're going to use the text or HTML block up here. You do also have options for CSS and JavaScript for more advanced features. Within the text HTML over here, I'm just going to put something really simple that I have on my other screen. Perfect. So this is just going to give an H1 for join our VIP text club and a little brief description about what they will get for joining. If you scroll down, you can edit the fields that are already provided for you. You can add new ones using the add new element here, or you can delete them. You also have the ability to easily move your fields up and down using the arrows if you want to rearrange them. For this form, we're going to go ahead and keep first name, phone number, and SMS on, and I'm just going to add another one, and we want to go ahead and collect email address. By default, all fields will be required. You can also add filters to only show certain fields based off of criteria within your database. So if you're doing a new opt-in form and you already have the email on file, you could set this to where it only shows if they do not have their email. And you can do that for any of the fields within each of your accounts. I'm going to go ahead and click save and close, and then I'm going to move this above. Oh, there we go. So I'm just going to reorder those. And then by default, the submit button will be patch branded. If you have your brand settings updated, your personal brand colors will propagate over to your button by default. So if my brand settings were set to blue, all of my buttons when I create a form would be blue for me. One new feature on this side is we have modified how our terms and conditions work on the forms. By default, if you click bottom content, text HTML, we do have default terms and conditions provided. These are going to be over here on the side. I know it's a little bit small, but it's generic verbiage. It also does dynamically insert your account's toll-free number or the phone number that you use for texting. And so if you change the phone number within your account settings, your terms and conditions will automatically update for you. If you were to want a form that does not have terms and conditions, so maybe you're not collecting an opt-in or you're collecting other information, if you click here and enter a space, it will remove it. Or you can actually overwrite and insert your own terms and conditions. So if you have any particulars that you want to include yourself, you can use HTML to insert and override those, and then update any information that you need. In this instance, I'm going to go ahead and just delete it and use our default. We do also link to our privacy policy. So if you wanted to override where that links to and send it to your own website, you could do that by overriding using HTML. Perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And next step is going to be form design. So you can see here by default, the display, my logo is checked for me. I can switch this logo. So if I didn't want to use my standard brand logo that's in the settings, I could upload a white version or a colored version or something like that. If you wanted to overwrite it, you would just click the X here and then re-upload using our file system. We do have the option to upload a content background image that will fill this center part of your form. And if you look on the edges, there's a little bit of like a gray area. So we do have two different sections of your background. The background color here is the edges, and then your content background is the center, which ties to your background image options. By default, all of your form styling, if your brand settings are completed, they will propagate here. So if I already had my font for my brand set in my settings, my font size was already there, this would propagate for me. I can go ahead and change my background colors. I can change my content background color. I can change my input font color, text color, link colors. I can also change the width of my form. So you would just highlight over it and type it in if you wanted it to be a little bit wider. Keep in mind the form width in the preview is going to stay the same. So if you are adjusting this, you'll want to either launch your pop-up or embed it on your site, or check the URL version when you're installing to see if the width matches for what you're doing. If you changed your mind and you don't want any of these settings, you can just click this button and it'll reset back to your account's default. And then if you scroll down, you have your button styling, so you can override the submit button and change it to whatever you want. And it is going to automatically do all caps for everything, so it doesn't matter how you type it in. There we go. I can change my button color if it's not already set based off of my brand settings. So we'll just make this one blue. And then I can change my input color if I needed to. And then you can either click continue or click the arrows in the top right-hand corner. I'm going to go ahead and click continue. This is going to be your success information. So whether it be a thank you page, a success page, or if you want to include redirect options, you can have a display message and a redirect. You can do just a redirect without a display message. So depending on how you mix and match your settings, you can kind of accomplish various options. By default, we do have a thank you message here. This is being entered based on your enter success title. So if I were to click here, you can see that that's where that message is coming from. If I did not want to use this one and I wanted to do more of a styled option, I would just enter a space. That'll remove the default, and then I can enter my own here. So I'm actually going to do this just to make it easier. Enter my space. I'm going to put this content down here, and then this gives me ability. I can center it. I can change the sizing. I can change the color, whatever it may be. And then you're all set. And then from here, if I wanted to do a redirect URL, I would enter it here. Or I can, and then once you have the redirect, you would enter the button for them to click or not click it, depending on your settings. If you do not want them to see a message or click on any type of button, you would actually disable this and only use the redirect URL. So this would mean upon submitting the form, it would automatically go to the website or link that you sent them to. If I were to keep this one and use a URL, which I can actually just steal from here really quick, I would enter it here. It automatically adds a button, and then I can update my button text here. Or if I disable this, it'll just keep my URL redirect without having to click anything. And then I'm going to go ahead and remove this just for the sake of setting this one up. We're going to go ahead and click continue. These are going to be more of your advanced options. So this is going to give you the ability to set data fields based on submitting the form, whether that be opting them in for email and SMS if you have the checkboxes there. If you wanted to give them a tag or add them to a group, you would accomplish this via this section here. So for this one, we are just going to tag anybody who fills out this form and do VIP text club. And then if you wanted to have any of your opt-ins checked by default, what you would do is actually set this here. So I'm going to do SMS on here. SMS on. One thing to note is when you are setting your fields here, it is going to give you like a gray version of default text. You do need to click and actually select the value of yes or no, and that's going to go for any of the drop downs. You actually have to click it into it and then select the value that you want for that form or for that field. So I'm going to go ahead and click yes. Now if I hit save, in my preview, you'll notice that my SMS on is now checked by default. This is based off of this setting, and then they can uncheck it if they want while filling out the form if they do not want to opt in. The next setting under advanced is going to be authentication settings. So this is where somebody will enter their phone number or email address. And then if your database has that phone number or email address already in it, it's going to prompt them to send a code. Once they receive the code, they'll enter the code and then they'll be able to complete the form. And you still have the option to require that authentication before displaying your form or as they're filling out the form. So if I do SMS, and I do require before, it's actually going to only show the text field, the text phone number field. Once they enter this and it's verified, then it'll show the remaining of the form. Or if I leave this unchecked as I'm filling this out, once I get to the phone number piece, it will prompt me if I'm within the database and it'll pop up. And then you'll just send code, or you can change the phone number if they wanted to change it. In the new system, if you do not have an email address within your form, this will not be present, so you can't authenticate via it, or vice versa with SMS. If you have both, you do have to pick one or the other instead of both options. And then if you do not want to use authentication at all, you can actually just disable it here and they can fill out the form without doing any type of verification. However, if you do that and that contact does exist, there is a chance that there will be a duplicate contact record made. So we definitely recommend using this or making sure that you guys are cleaning up your list, checking for duplicates and monitoring that as you go. So we're going to go ahead and leave it off for right now. We're going to go to the installation step. Ignore this. This just has to do with the WordPress thing. So this account is actually tied to one of our WordPress testing sites. We have a plugin installed, which is working. So that's all good to go. Depending on the type of account, will determine which settings you actually see on your installation page, whether it be WordPress, Shopify, or if you do not have it connected to a website, this will be empty and you will only have the pixel code. Our new forms, along with other tools like text chat and loyalty, are via the pixel code for some accounts. So you are going to want to install this into the head of your website theme file. If you are on Shopify or if you're on WordPress, you can install the app or the plugin and it will automatically install the pixel into your site for you. If you have to do it manually, I will show you over here in a second where we will put that. The pixel does have to be on there for you to use the embedded option or the pop-up option. If you only wanted to use your form via a shareable link, so in a text message or anything like that, you don't have to have the pixel. So for the pixel code, I'm going to go over to our testing site right here. So this is just a standard WordPress site. Most of your themes are going to have an option here called appearance. Some themes may say like Elementor. It really just depends on your setup. Once you log into your site under appearance or wherever your theme file is, you're going to go over to editing the theme file. If you are not familiar with code and things like that, I would recommend either getting help from like an IT department or a developer if you aren't familiar. But essentially in this instance, we're going to scroll down to the side, find our theme header. And this allows the pixel to propagate forms on your entire website. So any page that you create. If you scroll down here, you can actually see we do have the pixel already installed. Sorry, I'm slightly blind. Right here. So right here, I have the script, JavaScript. It says cdn.citygrow pixel. So we want to make sure that the version of this that you're using is the pixel with your account number. The previous scripts that we use for forms are actually this version right here, cdn.citygrow web.sdk. So we want to make sure that this is being removed and this is being added once you are switching all of your tools over to the pixel. So forms, if you are on Shopify right now, our loyalty cache widget, and then for text chat. So text chat does run via the pixel now as well. So then you would just update your file. Once you have that updated, you can go ahead and either create a pop-up or do your embed options for your form. So if I scroll down here, this is where you can do a shareable link. Essentially, this is the smart link to your form. You can include that in any type of messaging, QR codes on your website and things like that. You will want to click render using V2. V2 is the patch version of our form, so that does need to be checked for it to work properly. I'm going to go ahead and click save. And then once I scroll down, we have automatic installation options. So you do have the ability to generate a pop-up on your site without having to get into your code. And then we have a shortcut way that makes it easy to embed a little div script to do your embeds. So via automatic installation on the site that I'm using right now, we do have the pop-up already, but I'll go ahead and create one just so you can see it. So I'm going to click the purple plus button here. Once I do, it's automatically going to select the form that you are editing. We do have this table in other areas, so if you're not within the form specifically, you could select the form via the button or clear it out here. The form type, so right now we have pop-up or embedded. Currently, our pop-up is a global pop-up, so it's on every page of your website. It only shows once per cache session for the user. And then we have the embedded version. So for the pop-up, I'll click here. Pop-ups will show on all pages, and then your trigger. So the trigger options we have right now is immediately on page load, after a delay, or on exit intent. And exit intent, depending on the person's device, is going to be when they go up to either the left or right corner to exit the page. I'm going to go ahead and do after a delay, and then you would set your amount of time. So 1 second, 3 seconds, 10 seconds, depending on how you want to set this up. If you have other things on your website and you want this one to still show regardless of other pop-ups or overlays, you would click this button here. I'm not going to save this only because I don't want to override the one that we already have existing, but essentially you would click save and close. Once you do, you will see this in this data table right here. So my pop-up is here and it's triggered after 2 seconds on the site right now. On the current website, once you do your pop-up, some will go immediately. It can take up to 45 minutes for items to propagate within the pixel. If after about 45 minutes to an hour, if you're still not seeing it, definitely reach out to our customer success team and we can take a look at it and just make sure everything is set up properly. That does go for any changes. So if you were to launch it and then you come back in and make edits, those edits and changes can also take up to an hour to propagate. It's usually quicker. It honestly just depends on your website, other plugins, caching things and stuff like that. So just definitely give it a little bit of time. The other option we have is going to be our embedding option. So this is going to insert it onto the actual page. Once you click here, it automatically selects my form. I'm going to click embedded. We are using HTML element IDs, which means you will choose a unique identifier here. If you scroll down, we give you the div script and you copy it, and that's what you put into any HTML block or custom HTML block within your website. Each website is going to be a little bit different, but most builders, whether it be HubSpot, WordPress, Webflow, things like that, are going to have some form of a custom HTML block, so it should work on most sites. If you do not have that option, or if anybody has a custom coded website, you would just want to work with your developers to get everything installed. So here for my unique element ID, I'm just going to do a hashtag first, and then I'm going to do webinar-form test. If you do not include the hashtag here, it actually will not let you save it. And it will get error out if you try to just type something in without it. So you do have to have the pound sign or the hashtag included. And then once I scroll down here, it places my unique identifier into a div script for me. So all I have to do is click copy here and then save and close. Once I go over to my website, I'm going to go to the page or create the page where I want my form embedded. For this instance, I'm going to go ahead and just create a new page. I'm going to go ahead and do webinar form test. And then right here, I'm going to add my block, and I'm going to want a custom HTML block or basic HTML block, whichever your theme has. And then all I do is paste this div here. If you have other elements on your site, you'll just want to make sure that you edit your site to make sure the form displays wherever you want it to. I'm going to go ahead and publish this. When I did my test earlier this morning, they showed up rather quickly, but again, it can take up to that 45 minutes to an hour to show up. And there we are. So on this site right here, my page title is by default included on the page. And if I go down here, it includes my background, my content background, and the actual form. And then if I go ahead and just fill this out, And then I'm going to go ahead and click join. And then it just has thank you for filling out our form here because I removed the redirect off of it. Let's see. I do believe if I go incognito, it should, I think it's been long enough to where it should not cache the pop-up on the site. There we go. So this is our pop-up version that I have set up on this site. This form's a little bit longer, so it does require a little bit of a scroll, but it does depend on your screen size, whether it be mobile, tablet, desktop, etc. So this is how our pop-up currently works. You fill out the form. It'll either do the pop-up in your success message or redirect you. And then the exit is over here in the corner. On mobile, it tends to be right outside of the form. And then, yeah, so good to go. And then this will, once you exit out of it, it will cache for the person or once they filled it out. So if they're navigating through your site, they're not going to keep getting the pop-up over and over until they have a new session for your website. Let's see. Perfect. So we're going to go back over to the patch portal. You do still have the ability to use smart links. So if I copy my smart link here and I open it in a new tab, it will be hosted on our end, so they can go ahead and use this version as well. A couple things to note on styling is if you wanted the background of your website to show through, my background color, I would just set to transparent using this option here. Same with the background color. So if I wanted my center to just pull through what's in behind it, I would use transparent as well. And yeah, that's pretty much the overview of forms right now. We do have a couple fun things coming soon that we are actually in the works on. So I'm going to go ahead and go back over to here and present. There we go. So a couple upcoming features that are in the works right now is image layout options. So this will actually give you the ability to have an image on the left or the right of your form. It's pretty common where you have like a picture of your brand or a piece of clothing or a product, and then the form is on the left or the right. We also have single page pop-up. So this is going to change the way that you do the pop-up within the patch portal. It'll allow you to enter unique URLs that you want the form to pop up on only versus every page. And then basically, if you don't enter any specific links, it will show up on everything, or it will only show up on the ones that are provided. So that is coming soon. Newsletter layout options. So the ability to take your fields from horizontal and lay them out or vertical to lay them out horizontally. So this will allow you to do an email field with a button next to it, or first name and email or phone number and a button next to it to fit into like footers and things like that. We also have form templates coming. So we are going to work on providing you with pre-built forms of various natures that are optimized for conversion, and then additional customization options. So some of the HTML editing abilities right now will have a editor built in, like you saw on the success page, where you can style it, change your font, change the size without having to use code. So these are some of the upcoming features that we have soon for phase 2 that is actually already being worked on. So we will let you guys know when that is available. Awesome. So at this point, if there's any questions regarding the forms and things like that, we'll open that up, and then we will send you guys a recording of the webinar and an email, and forms will actually be unlocked as of today. So everybody can jump in there and start creating new forms.